Welcome to another Vixa Vaughn romance audiobook. We're excited to have you join us. Whether you're into second chance romance, enemies to lovers, fake marriage, or any other trope, Vixa Vaughn offers you the chance to escape into stories that will carry you away into heart-pounding romance and gripping characters. While we want to get you the full experience, some parts of this audiobook are abridged to stay abreast of YouTube's community guidelines. If you want the full experience, you can always head to Vixa Vaughn Romance and use code VIXA40 to get the unabridged version of this audiobook for 40% off. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Chapter 1. Harrison. Reviewing the updated inventory of our recent acquisitions, I immediately noticed that a few are missing, including Giovanni Battista Toriglia's painting and the 18th century Venetian vase. Despite being acquired 3 weeks ago, the items have not been included in the inventory, which puzzles me. Pressing the intercom, I call my assistant, Hannah, to check why. Hannah, can you check with James where the Venetian vase and Toriglia's painting are? It's not in the inventory list you've given me. I'll ask James. Also, Sebastian is in line 3 and wants to talk to you. Okay, put him on. Thanks, Hannah. Pressing the button, I immediately hear Sebastian's voice on the other end of the line. Hey, how's my favorite cousin? Good. What's up? I ask as I continue reviewing the files before me. Same old, same old. But enough about me. What about you? How was last night? It was okay. And your date? How was she? Sebastian asks, forgoing subtlety. She was nice. A few seconds pass, as if Sebastian is waiting for me to say something more. When it's clear to him I'm not volunteering any other information, he speaks again. That's it? She was nice. Come on, there must be more than that. What do you want me to say? I ask, a little distracted. That she's pretty, that she's a great conversationalist, that she's great in bed, he asks with a teasing lilt. I didn't sleep with her if that's what you're asking. I hear Sebastian sigh. Despite being unable to see him personally, I can picture his frustrated face. Somehow I feel a little guilty that I can't tell him something more exciting. Please, at least, tell me you had fun. I did. She's just not my type. Sebastian sighs again before muttering, Fine. What can I do if my cousin wants to remain a bachelor? I will not remain a bachelor, Sebastian. I'm touched by your concern, but I'm fine. Yeah. Well, I gotta go. Duty calls. I'll see you later. Sebastian hangs up, and I pause for a second, unable to resume my work. My mind wanders to the date I had last night. I wasn't lying when I said Becca's nice or that I had fun. But the niggling feeling that something was wrong persisted all night, so I didn't ask her out for a second date. As pretty as Becca is, I can't help but notice how her eyes are the wrong shade of green, or how her smile is different, or how her hands feel unfamiliar and way too small. My thoughts shift to Kathy and how beautiful she was. With emerald green eyes and auburn locks, she looked like a princess from a fairy tale. She was also smart, adventurous, if a bit reckless, and unbelievably kind. Becca is nice, but she's not Kathy. My eyes widen as I realize I'm comparing another woman to Kathy again, just like I'd done the entire time last night. Now distracted, I let out a sigh as I amble toward the windows overlooking the George Washington Bridge. I know I should move on. Everyone around me has been saying the same thing for the last 5 years, and I know, deep down, that they're right. Even Kathy would think the same. My Kathy wouldn't want me to waste my life like this. She'd want me to go out there and live the best life possible, go on adventures, meet people, and find new love. But no matter how much I want to do just that, it isn't easy. As much as I want to move on, I can't help but be cautious. Life is way too unpredictable. Unpredictable enough to take Kathy from me in an instant. So if I'm going to do this again, moving on and falling in love. I wanted to be with someone truly worth it. Dating and sleeping around wouldn't do that for me. As I continue to stare at the busy road downstairs, Hannah knocks on my door, interrupting my thoughts. She enters with a few files and places them on my desk. I hope I wasn't interrupting. I talked to James about the missing pieces, and he said this is the latest inventory. Apparently, an intern made a mistake and gave you the old one. I nod and walk toward my desk to check the new file. Also, this came in a while ago. Hannah hands me a slip of paper. What is it? I ask as I read the address written on the note. Bookbinders Books, 3252 Alfred Drive, Brooklyn, New York. Remember that rare Debussy book you were looking for? The Art of Longing? Yes, I received a call a while ago that there's a chance you can find it there. After Kathy died, reading became my solace. I did it as a distraction from the pain brought about by her passing. Before long, I found myself collecting books as a way of dealing with my grief. It was through this venture that I came across the author, Margaret Debussy. With themes of love and loss, her work resonated with me. In the end, I became a huge fan, and I made it my mission to collect all her pieces. But unfortunately, given how Debussy was not a particularly well-known author, I thought I'd never find this particular work. Until today, that is. Thank you, Hannah. No problem. Rubbing my thumb on the slip of paper, I read the address again. My brows furrow at how familiar the shop sounds. But no matter how much I rack my brain, I can't pinpoint why. Should I clear out the rest of your afternoon? Hannah asks. Looking at the note again, I wonder if I can really find Debussy's book at this address. Well, I wouldn't lose anything by checking the place out. Yeah, I reply. I'm heading out. Mind made up, I set out for Brooklyn.
Chapter 2. Marcy. As I feel the rain getting stronger, I rush toward Bookbinders and unlock the door. Finally out of the bad weather, I take my jacket off and notice that my shirt has its share of wet spots from the rain. Finding some towels, I do my best to dry myself. When I'm finally dry and decent, I head back to the bookstore's main space to flip the sign to open until I realize how messy the place looks. I really need to get it together, I sigh. Picking up a feather duster, I start removing the dust that got stuck between the bookshelves' crevices. After finishing the shelves in front, my eyes scour the bookshop, and I realize how much work it will take me to tidy the place up. Not to mention, I still have a mountain of crates that need to be inventoried. I contemplate posting an ad for an assistant until I remember my struggles with the shop's finances. Considering how few sales I've made the last couple of weeks, it's no wonder the store's in the red. What's worse, the rent is due soon. Forget about hiring help. I'm lucky if I can earn enough money to pay for rent this month. Placing the duster on the desk and picking up a broom, I bite my lip. As I sweep the remaining dust off the floor, I think of ways for me to increase the shop's revenues. There has to be a way for me to save this place. Given how bad the store's finances have been lately, others may say that selling the store is the most practical option. But to me, Bookbinders Books is more than just a business. It's my father's life's work. He spent and sacrificed so much to keep this place going. And after he died last year, I inherited this place. Still, more than the sentimentality of keeping my father's store, I also have my own dreams for the place. Way before Dad got sick, the two of us had been talking of expanding the shop. We thought of making part of the space into a small art gallery for local artists, since I'm an artist myself. However, Dad got ill, so we put our plans on hold. Then, he eventually passed, and now, a year later, I'm struggling financially to keep the place up and running. It doesn't help that Bookbinders is in a quiet street. The shop is in Alfred Drive, in the middle of a quiet neighborhood, instead of a bustling commercial street. So few people walk past, which frankly doesn't help with sales. Still, as hard as it seems, I refuse to give up on this place. My plans with Dad have yet to come to fruition, so I believe it's still way too early for me to give up. Looking out the huge windows, I see that the rain has finally stopped. As I stare at the now bright sky, I see a rainbow appear, and I suddenly remember Kathy. "There's always a rainbow after the rain, you know," I remember her saying whenever I'm having a hard time. Kathy was always the more optimistic between the two of us. She always had 1,001 solutions for every problem, and she dragged me out of self-pity whenever I was feeling down. She was like a ball of sunshine with boundless energy, and it's hard to believe that she's gone before her time, or that she's been dead for 5 years now. I bite my lip as I remember the night Kathy died. Hearing Kathy was gone is still one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. She would still be here if only I sigh. I know it's no use lamenting the past. No matter how much pain or guilt I feel over Kathy's death, it still wouldn't bring my best friend back. Kathy would want me to move on. I pick up the broom again, intent on resuming cleaning when I hear the store's door open. I turn around, expecting a customer, only to see my older sister with my 2-year-old niece in her arms. "Hey, Marcy," Jane greets as she sets down her daughter. "Jane, what are the two of you doing here?" I ask, pleasantly surprised. "What, can't I visit my favorite sister?" she asks as she hugs me. "I'm your only sister, you know, which is exactly why you're my favorite." Jane lets go, and I crouch down to greet my niece. "Hello, Ella." Instead of a greeting, my niece gives me a sneeze in response. "You really should tidy this place up," Jane mock lectures me. "What do you think I've been doing since I got here?" I reply, holding out the broom in one hand and the feather duster in the other. "Don't you think it's time for you to hire someone who can help you around here? You and I both know that. While this place is small, you're not exactly great at keeping things tidy." "I'd like that too. Unfortunately, business isn't exactly booming these days. For now, I'd consider myself lucky if I have enough money for rent." "It's that bad already?" Jane asks, clearly concerned. All I can do is nod and sigh in response. Jane holds my hand in comfort. "I wish I could help you. But between our daily expenses and raising a kid, Michael's salary is just enough to cover our needs," Jane says apologetically. "It's okay. I completely understand. And don't worry too much. This is just a minor bump. I'm sure things will get better soon." "Look at you being optimistic and all. It's much better than moping around." "Looks like you have a plan?" "Not really." I chuckle. But I figure attracting customers so I can make some sales is a good first step. Jane looks around at the mess. "Then you really need to clean this place up," she teases. I only throw a rag at her in response.
Chapter 3. Harrison. With Hannah's confirmation that she's cleared my schedule, at least until 4 in the afternoon, I set off for Brooklyn. Following the address written on the note, it doesn't take me long to arrive at the corner of Alfred Drive. I slowly drive across the street so as to avoid missing the shop. As my eyes are peeled for the bookstore, I can't shake off the niggling sense of familiarity over the store's name. While it's true that I've been to a lot of stores in my search for Margaret Debussy's books, I'm pretty confident I've never been to bookbinders before, so the sense of familiarity is really confusing for me. Maybe if I see the store in person, I'd have an answer. As I continue driving, I notice the bookstore is on a quiet street. While most of the stores I've been to are in the middle of a bustling commercial area, Bookbinders is in the middle of a quiet, suburban neighborhood. Looking around, I notice that there are hardly any people walking by. But I guess that's to be expected, since it's the middle of a work week. After a couple of minutes, I arrive, but nearly miss the store, almost unable to notice the sign hanging discreetly at the top of the door. Parking in front of the building, I get out of the car to inspect the storefront. The first thing I notice is how old and dilapidated it looks on the outside. The old paint is chipping. Its windows are fogged up, making it hard to peer inside, and cracks run across the walls. However, no matter how much I stare at the entrance, I know I've never seen it before. It's a shame this bookstore is in such an inconspicuous place. If not for the sign, no one would think this is a bookstore. Somehow I'm amazed at how this place is still up and running. They can't have that many customers even on a good day. Well, if my book adventures have taught me anything, it's not to judge something by its cover. With that in mind, I head inside. The place is smaller than I expected, and somewhat messier too. Given the small space and few bookshelves, the display barely has order. Some books are placed on the shelves, while others are stacked on top of each other on the floor. With the store's overabundance of books, its limited space makes it an even tighter fit. Still, bookbinders is not bad. Since becoming an avid book collector, I've encountered my fair share of shops like this one. And to be honest, despite the mess, this place still looks a lot better than some of the stores I've been to. Picking up a book from the closest pile, I can see it's still in great condition despite being a little dusty, which only means this store would be one worth buying from. Satisfied with the quality of the books, I resume looking. However, I notice no one is behind the register. Pricking my ears, I pick up a noise somewhere inside the store, but I don't see anyone around. Deciding to check out the collections available, I walk to the closest stack to read the titles. Despite some dust accumulating at the top, the books look to be in relatively good shape. Picking up one of them, I notice that the author is an unpopular one. As I scan the entire shelf, it's filled with books written by obscure authors. Is the shop owner a fan of the underdog? Why have such unpopular authors in stock? Still, whatever the case may be, I feel my hope rising that I can find the book I'm searching for. With renewed vigor, I continue scanning the shelves. After a few minutes, I come across an aisle that features an entire row of Debussy's works. Chronicles of a Black Dress, The Edge of Never, Whispers at Midnight, Dying Embers, Battlefield, Taken at Dusk, A Journey's End, The Art of Forgetting. I read the title of each book until I reach the end of the row. Unfortunately, I already have a copy of every single Debussy book displayed on the shelf, and still, the book I'm searching for is nowhere in sight. I feel my heart sink when I realize I've reached the last aisle. I wonder if I should just give up for the day when I hear a grunt from behind the shelf. Peering behind it, I see a woman with short, wavy brown hair inside what I assume is the shop's storage room, organizing a crate of books. So, she was the one I heard a while ago. Wearing a fitted white shirt and a pair of faded denims, I can see how well the casual clothes show off her hourglass figure and her golden brown skin as my eyes roam over her backside appreciatively. While I'm not particularly interested in dating, I still have eyes, and I know a beautiful woman when I see one. I wouldn't be surprised if she had heads turning for her. I continue to observe the woman, and I wonder if she's the shop owner. Just as I'm about to approach her, the woman looks to the side, giving me a glimpse of her facial features. And, all of a sudden, a wave of familiarity washes over me. Short, wavy brown hair, brown eyes, sharp nose, and full lips. At the back of my mind, I know I've seen those features before. However, I couldn't pinpoint who or why she suddenly looks very familiar. I pause to watch her intensely, deeply engrossed in trying to figure out and remember where I've seen her. And, as if noticing my intense stare, she turns around, and my eyes widen at the now familiar woman. Marcy!
Chapter 4. Marcy. Marcy? I almost dropped the crate of books I'm carrying when I hear the voice that called my name. While I admit I was preoccupied with cleaning, I didn't expect a customer to come in at this hour. So, I'm quite surprised that someone is inside. When I look up, a familiar face greets me. Harrison? I'm surprised to see Harrison here. Still, I don't want to seem rude. I set the crate down and walk toward him as I wipe my hands on my jeans. It's been a while, Harrison says. How long has it been since we saw each other last? Around 5 years, I reply, sounding unsure. Right, we last saw each other 5 years ago. Harrison trails off. At Kathy's funeral, I mentally finish. The thought of what happened 5 years ago silences both of us. All of a sudden, the memory washes over me. The sun had been shining brightly then, in contrast to the gloomy atmosphere that had enveloped us. Dressed in white, one by one, we said our goodbyes to Kathy as we offered her white roses. Everyone's eyes were wet with tears that day, all except Harrison's. Back then, I didn't understand how this man, who claimed to love my best friend, couldn't even shed a single tear for his fiancé. It wasn't until after the funeral, when everyone else had left, that Harrison let his tears fall. All alone in front of Kathy's grave, he broke down. As I watched from afar, I finally saw how grieved he was by her death. While his body was racked by the tears and heart-wrenching screams he let out, all I could do was watch, unable to intrude in that private moment. But as I look at Harrison now, I can say he looks better. And I can't help but notice that he looks just as handsome as ever. I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken. At that notion, my curiosity rears its head, and my eyes involuntarily shift to his left hand. No ring? My eyebrows furrow in confusion until I realize what I thought about. Shaking my head, I brush away the idea. Whatever Harrison's relationship status is, it's none of my business. Get it together, Marcy. Marcy! Harrison calls my name, interrupting my thoughts. Huh? Harrison chuckles. I asked how you were doing. Oh, I'm good. Getting by. How about you? A beat passes before Harrison replies. I'm good too. And then another awkward silence settles between us. Harrison's eyes shift to the books beside him. Meanwhile, I try not to bite my lips as my gaze lands everywhere except Harrison's direction. Another beat passes, and I'm unable to take the awkward atmosphere. I open my mouth to speak, but Harrison beats me to it. So, I forgot that your father owns this place. When Hannah showed me the shop's name and address, I thought it was familiar somehow. But it didn't cross my mind that this is your father's store. Not until I saw you here, that is. Yeah, well, technically I own this place now. Oh, why is that? Did your father retire? No, he passed away last year. After hearing that, Harrison's expression immediately turned somber. My condolences. It's okay. He'd been sick for quite some time, so we kind of expected that he wouldn't live much longer. Still, I'm sorry for your loss, Harrison says, as he places a comforting hand on my shoulder. While I know his intention is pure, it doesn't stop my spine from tingling at the contact. Let's not talk about these sad topics anymore, I say, trying to shift the topic. It's been 5 years after all. You're right, Harrison replies with a smile. So, as pleasant as this surprise visit is, I assume you have a purpose for coming here. Yeah, I'm looking for a particular book. I see. Well, why don't we go to the front of the shop so we can check on the records if we have what you're looking for? Walking ahead, Harrison trails after me as we head to the computer I set up. So, what book are you looking for? I ask after turning it on. I was wondering if you have a first edition copy of The Intricacies of Longing by Margaret Debussy. I'm not sure if we have that one, but let me check. I input the title and author on the computer and wait for it to load. However, while I do have a few of Debussy's works, the particular book that Harrison is looking for is not on the list. I'm sorry, but it's not in the inventory. I see. Well, she's not a particularly well-known author, so I guess it's to be expected, Harrison says. but I could still sense his disappointment. Well, I still haven't completed my inventory. I'll double-check the new books that came in, just in case. At my suggestion, Harrison visibly brightens. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Marcy. No problem. I have quite a few more books to add to the inventory, so it might take a few days. That's fine. I've been searching for that book for quite some time now. A couple more days waiting wouldn't hurt. I guess. But don't get your hopes up. I'm not making any promises. Of course. I'm just grateful you're willing to search. Harrison then looks at his watch. Well, as much as I want to stay and catch up, I have to go. Oh, sure. I accompany Harrison to the entrance, but before he leaves, he turns to me. It was nice seeing you again, Marcy. It was nice seeing you too, Harrison. After he leaves, I can't help but marvel at the coincidence. Who would have thought that Harrison and I would see each other again after 5 years? And right after I'd been thinking of Kathy, too. What are the odds?
Chapter 5, Harrison. When I reach Sebastian by the bar, he immediately hands me a drink before I can even sit down. Are we really drinking at this time? I ask. It's only 4:30. It's happy hour. Of course, we have to drink. Drinks on you today. I take the shot and feel the welcome burn of the alcohol. So, what's the occasion? I ask while signaling for the bartender. Nothing. I've learned my lesson after your date with Becca. Setting you up with people I know won't work. So, are you finally going to stop? Of course not. But I figured helping you let loose so you'd go out and meet your own women would be better. Sebastian turns my attention to a group of women to our left. See those girls over there? I heard the blonde one loves traveling, while the redhead is into collecting antiques. The women see us looking, and they all wave at us. I only nod with a polite smile before turning back to Sebastian. How is this any different from setting me up on blind dates? Well, you can actually take your pick this time, Sebastian replies with a grin. I'm not interested in them, or any of the women here. Oh, come on. You spend all your time between workbook hunting. You need to go out and meet people too, you know? I am meeting people. I don't count, and nor do your colleagues or your clients, Sebastian counters. Marcy, I offhandedly comment. Who? I met Marcy recently. You remember her, don't you? Marcy, as in Marcy Stein. I nod. Yeah, of course. Although, I haven't seen or spoken to her in 5 years. The last time we talked was after Kathy's funeral. How did the two of you see each other again? I was looking for a book. Of course, Sebastian rolls his eyes. And when I got to the store, Marcy was there. Let me guess. Bookbinder's books, correct? How do you know? I remember her dad owning a bookshop in Brooklyn. Now I know why the store's name was familiar. You mentioned it to me a couple of times before. Sebastian shrugs before going quiet. After a full minute passes, he turns to me and looks me straight in the eye. Coincidences aside, are you okay? What are you talking about? Why wouldn't I be? I ask him, genuinely confused. Well, Marcy was Kathy's best friend. I'm sure seeing her again after 5 years brought back some memories. Besides, you both saw each other last at Kathy's funeral, right? Mulling over Sebastian's words, I can understand why my cousin would ask that question. However, while my run-in with Marcy did bring up some memories of Kathy that I'd rather not remember, I don't know how I feel about our encounter. To be honest, I don't know. Sure, it was great seeing Marcy again, but our interaction was very limited, and we mostly only talked about the shop and the book I was looking for. I take another sip of my drink before continuing. I think Marcy also deliberately avoided talking about Kathy, since it would only be painful for both of us. You know, Kathy's death was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced, and I think it was the same for Marcy. I get it. Kathy was a big part of both of your lives. Understandably, the two of you wouldn't be comfortable talking about that loss, Sebastian says. But you also know you need to move on, right? I'm pretty sure even Kathy would want that for you. A comfortable silence envelops the two of us. And, for a moment, we let the noise in the bar lull us. Kathy aside, how is Marcy? Sebastian asks. From what I've seen, she seems well. She's doing good. Taken over her father's shop. She's not doing art. I'm not sure. We didn't talk about it. Well, I hope whatever she's up to these days, she's happy about it. Nice people like her deserve to achieve their heart's desires. Are you already drunk? What's with the sudden sentimentality? I tease him. I'm serious, man. Marcy is one of the nicest people I've ever met. She must have been really nice to you for you to talk so highly about her like this. Sebastian only laughs at that. You know, if you think she's that amazing, why don't you try to rekindle that old flame? I ask him jokingly. Nah, I don't think it'd work this time either, Sebastian replies. Why not? Well, you know, I always thought Marcy was a little bit in love with you. My neck nearly snapped at how fast I turned to look at Sebastian. Marcy had been in love with me? What are you saying? But before Sebastian could explain, my phone rings, distracting us. Our eyes land on the caller ID, and I realize it's Marcy calling. What a coincidence. Better get that lover boy, Sebastian teases. I only shake my head before I pick up. Don't think you're off the hook. You still need to explain what you meant. Sure. But don't let the beautiful lady wait, Sebastian replies with a wink. I answer the call as I walk out of the bar. Hello, Marcy? Hello, this is Harrison, right? Marcy asks. Yes, it is. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried for a second you changed your number. It's Marcy from Bookbinders. Yeah, I figured. Your number's still saved in my phone, too. I hear Marcy chuckle a little at that. I hope I wasn't interrupting anything important. It's fine. I was only out with Sebastian for some drinks. Anyway, you called? Oh, yes. Remember how I said I would double-check my inventory? Unfortunately, I don't have the book in stock. I see, I reply, feeling my heart sinking. So, I visited my parents' place and checked out my dad's collection. You didn't have to go that far. Somehow, I feel guilty that Marcy had to go to these lengths just to find the book. It's okay, because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be able to tell you the good news. Hearing that, I feel my hopes rise. I found the book you're looking for.
Chapter 6. Marcy. After Harrison's visit, I decided to check the books Dad left at the back of the shop. Since he also liked to collect books when he was alive, his collection is vast, although it mostly comprised of works written by unknown authors. As I peruse the shelf, I reach one row, which contains Margaret Debussy's works. I pick a random book to check out. Memoirs of Love, I whisper to myself. I wonder what it's about. Turning the book around, I check the summary, only to be surprised by the story's premise. Instead of the expected love story, this particular book is about losing a loved one. For a second, I wonder if the book Harrison is looking for has a similar theme. I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sound of a customer coming in. Placing the book back on the shelf, I attend to the customer who just arrived. Thoughts of Harrison fly out of my mind temporarily. A few days later, I visit Mom, partly because I want to see her, and partly so I can ask her about Dad's collection. Given how many books he left at the bookstore, I assume he has more at home. And among them could be the book Harrison is looking for. You want to see your dad's collection? Mom asks as she offers me a cup of coffee. Yeah, I was wondering if there are any of Margaret Debussy's works among them. I had a client come in a few days ago asking about a particular book of hers. At Mom's confused look, I explained to her how Harrison is interested in Margaret Debussy's books and is inquiring about them. I see. Your father would have loved to talk to Harrison about them. He really liked Debussy. So, can I see the books? Of course. Although I think her books are stored in the garage, given how big your father's collection is, they can hardly fit in the house. Would that be okay? That's fine, Mom, I assure her. When I enter the garage, I'm amazed by how many boxes contain my father's collection. As a child, I knew how much he loved books, but I forgot how vast his personal collection was. No wonder Mom said they couldn't all fit in the house. Wasting no time, I walked to the nearest box and opened it up. Picking up the topmost one, I wonder what Harrison's reason could be for liking Debussy's works. While I had a guess, I can't confirm it until I see the book itself. I continue searching for Debussy's books, careful to be methodical about it. I take out the books, stack them in a pile beside me, and make note of which authors wrote them. Unfortunately, the first box only contained books from famous authors, and so I continue searching. 2.5 boxes later, I finally find the book I'm looking for. Margaret Debussy's The Intricacies of Longing. Turning the book around, I check the summary and see that I'm right. Like the first book I encountered, this one also talks of losing a loved one. Could it be because of Kathy? Before I can analyze Harrison's reasons, I give him a call to tell him I found the book he's been looking for. Harrison sounds pleasantly surprised at my find, enough to want to come over right away. His enthusiasm is infectious, and before I know it, I'm giving him directions to my parents' place. It's only after I end the phone call that I realize what I've done. To distract myself, I bite my lip as I continue taking out the rest of Debussy's works. After emptying the box, I realize that half of it contains her works alone. Mom wasn't kidding when she said Dad is a big fan. Checking the titles and the summaries, I noticed that Debussy often writes about love and loss. For a second, my thoughts again shift to Harrison and his reasons for collecting Debussy's work. Could it be because of Kathy? If so, no wonder he's such a big fan of hers. With my thoughts back on Harrison, I bite my lip as I wonder how long it'll take for him to arrive. While his presence at my bookshop had been a pleasant coincidence, Harrison and I haven't talked in such a long time. So, while I thought helping him find the book he's looking for would be a nice gesture from an old friend, I don't know how to go about seeing him again. It's just business, Marcy. There's no need to fret. With that mantra, I calm myself as I open another box. Taking the books out one after the other, I try to focus on the task at hand. But just as I've resolved not to think of him, the man in question shows himself. I see you're hard at work, Harrison says in greeting, scaring me. And that you've been overtaken by books and boxes. Harrison, hi, I greet as I stand up. Hey, you said you found the book? Yeah, I reply, picking it up and showing him. Here it is. Harrison walks over the pile so he can come closer. After I hand over the book, Harrison immediately inspects it. A few seconds pass before he gives me a huge smile. This is great, Marcy. Not only is this book a first edition, but it's also in excellent condition, Harrison says, evidently thrilled. That's good to hear. Are these also by Debussy? Harrison asks, referring to the stack beside us. Oh, yes. My father was a huge fan of hers, apparently. So he had a lot of her books. Harrison crouches down as he checks, while I watch. After a few minutes, Harrison stands up again. How are they? I ask. They're all in great condition, so I was thinking, if you're willing to sell these, I'd be willing to pay $5,000 for each book, he offers. Really? That'd be great. Then, do we have a deal? Harrison offers his hand for a shake, which I gratefully accept. As I separate Debussy's works from the piles of books surrounding us, Harrison checks the rest of the stack and the ones in the boxes I've yet to take out. You have quite a lot of first editions here, he comments. I think you should have these reviewed at Beacon auctions. These books could fetch you quite a fortune if you auction them off. You think so? Yeah. I can have a colleague of mine review them and assess their value if you want. If what Harrison's saying is true, it would solve the money problems the bookshop is facing. But if I take up Harrison's offer, wouldn't that mean I'd have to spend more time with him? And I bite my lip again.
Chapter 7. Harrison. As I flip through the documents of various items set for auction, I check my watch, wondering what time Marcy will arrive. After we saw each other at her parents' house, Marcy and I only talked once, and it was to let me know she's agreeing to have her father's collection reviewed by one of my colleagues at Beacon. I was so thrilled to hear the news. I immediately invited her to meet at my office with some of her father's books. Since the items in question were books from her father's own collection, I think Marcy might be a little hesitant to have a stranger handle them. So I finished everything I need to do so I can be present when she meets with Dana. But now that I've done everything on my agenda, I have nothing else left to do but wait. Just as I'm about to check my watch again, I hear the intercom beep and my assistant's voice goes through. "Harrison, Miss Marcy Stein is here," Hannah announces. "You can send her in." A minute passes before Marcy peeks through the door. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything," she says. "No, come in." Marcy enters my office, looking pretty and confident in a black and white ensemble. One of our interns, Marcus, follows her while pushing a cart containing a large box. "You came at the right time. I needed a break anyway," I assure her. "So, you brought the books?" "Yes, they're in here." Marcy gestures to the box on top of the cart. "Your staff was kind enough to assist me." She turns to Marcus and says, "Thank you." "It was no problem," Marcus replies. "Thank you, Marcus. Also, please ask Hannah to send Dana to my office." "Of course." Marcus walks out, and I see him relay my instructions to Hannah through the window. "Have a seat," I say, and Marcy takes one on the lounge. "So, can I offer you a drink? Coffee, tea, or juice?" "Oh, I'm fine, but thank you." I nod in response before taking the seat across from hers. "It's good you agreed to my suggestion. I really think your father's books are in good condition, and you can sell them for a good price. It would be a shame if we just leave it in your parents' garage to collect dust." "Well, I thought over what you said, and I figure I won't lose anything if I have those books appraised, and if the price is right. So, is the Dana you're calling for the one you were recommending?" "Yeah, Dana is actually—" Before I can finish, we hear a knock on the door, and Dana enters. "Speak of the devil," I say under my breath. "Harrison, Hannah said you wanted to see me," Dana asks. Marcy and I walk toward Dana so I can introduce them to each other. "Marcy, this is Dana Crow, Beacon's very own book specialist. Dana, this is Marcy Stein. I mentioned her to you last time." The two of them shake hands. "It's nice to meet you, Marcy." "You too, Dana." "So, Harrison mentioned you have quite the collection of books you'd like to be appraised," Dana asks without missing a beat. "Yes, these are actually part of my father's collection. I brought a few of them here so you can check them out," Marcy replies, walking closer to the box. "Well, let's see them then." Marcy opens it and carefully hands Dana each book. Dana, on the other hand, takes out her gloves and looks serious as she inspects them. After checking them all, Dana's serious expression turns bright. "So what do you think?" Marcy asks Dana. "These books are great. Not only are they first editions, but they're also well preserved. Your father must have taken care of these books well," Dana says excitedly to Marcy. "Do you think if Marcy sells them, she can get a good sum?" I ask Dana. "Of course. I think a lot of serious book collectors will be interested in these. So more than just a good sum, I think she can earn quite a pretty penny out of it." "That's good news, don't you think, Marcy?" Yes, it is, Marcy says with her eyes wide. Is something wrong? I ask her, worried. No, nothing's wrong. I guess I'm just surprised. I knew my father loved collecting books, but he never mentioned just how valuable these are. Marcy looks somewhat misty-eyed, and I can only guess she's reminiscing about her father. Considering how fond she looks at her father's old collection, she still misses him. Honestly, I wish I could keep these books, for sentimental reasons, but considering Bookbinder's current financial situation, I can't afford to be sentimental. If I can raise a substantial amount of money from the sale of the books, then that'd be great. Well, we can at least help you find owners who will take care of these books and treasure them just like your father did, Dana offers. I'd like that. Thank you, Marcy replies. Since you've decided to sell the books, if you want, we can start inspecting and cataloging them right away. Sure, just tell me what you need and any help you require. I'm willing to help. Seeing Marcy's sharp business sense and confidence throughout the meeting, I find myself staring at her more than I care to admit. Suddenly, I remember Sebastian's words, how Marcy had feelings for me before, and I wonder if there's any truth in them. Would it have made any difference, though? I was with Kathy back then, and I loved her with my every breath. At the thought of Kathy, I can't help but wonder whether it's even appropriate for me to think about Marcy in that way when she was Kathy's best friend.
I hope you're enjoying this audiobook by Vic Savon. If you want to keep hearing more audiobooks, then please hit that subscribe button and like the video. It may seem insignificant, but the more people that subscribe, the easier it is to produce more audiobooks in the future. So please, help us out and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening, and now back to your book.
Chapter 8. Marcy. Well, those are all the books available for now. We're done, Dana says proudly. That was easier than I expected, I reply. Would you mind checking the rest of my father's collection? We still have quite a few in the garage that I wasn't able to look through. Of course, that'll be no problem. Just drop by, and I'll be more than happy to help. Thanks, Dana, Harrison says. I told you it's no problem. This is what you're paying me for after all. That, and I do love discovering good books. Dana chuckles before checking the time. Looks like it's late. Would you two mind if I go ahead? Of course not, Harrison says. Bye, Dana. Dana leaves, and I notice it's indeed late. The city lights can be seen through the window, and when I check the time, I realize it's nearly 7:30. I guess this is also my cue. Thanks for the help, Harrison. I really appreciate it, I say. You're welcome. But before you go, I was wondering if you'd like to join me for dinner. Dinner? Just the two of us? I ask, stopping myself from biting my lip at the prospect. Oh no. Sebastian invited me to eat out tonight. I figure he wouldn't mind if I invite you along. Sebastian, huh? Because Sebastian and I dated a few years ago, I wonder if it'll be all right. However, our relationship hadn't been anything serious, and after Kathy died, I broke things off with him. Still, wouldn't it be awkward for me to suddenly show up? Harrison seems to notice my hesitation and rushes to reassure me. Come on, join us for dinner. I promise it'll be fun. I reconsider. On the bright side, Sebastian and I parted amicably. It's also been 5 years since then. One night won't hurt, would it? Okay. When we arrive at the restaurant, Sebastian is already there, and despite my concerns earlier, Sebastian doesn't mind my presence. Instead, he immediately stands up and greets me like an old friend. Marcy, it's so nice to see you. He greets me with a hug. Hi, Sebastian. Harrison didn't tell me you were coming. Sebastian sends a fake glare at his cousin. I would have dressed up better if I knew. It was all last minute, Harrison explains. Well, whatever it is, I'm glad to see you again, Marcy. I can only smile at Sebastian in response. Somehow, with his warm welcome, I feel myself relaxing and looking forward to a fun evening. As we take our seats, Harrison pulls out a chair for me. Grateful at the gentlemanly gesture, I thank Harrison, and he smiles in response. Sebastian calls for the waiter, and we place our orders. As we wait for the food to arrive, Sebastian entertains us with stories relating to his job. And while I don't find corporate lawyering interesting, I still find myself drawn to them, given how Sebastian has a way with words. No wonder you're the best corporate lawyer this side of the town. Harrison compliments his cousin. Well, I try, if I do say so myself. But enough about me. What I want to hear is what Marcy has been doing. Me? I ask, surprised by the sudden attention. What about me? Well, not counting your run-in with Harrison here a few days ago, we haven't seen or heard from you for the last 5 years. So, what have you been up to? Well, I've continued pursuing my passion for the arts. And last year after Dad died, I took over his bookstore, which I'm currently managing right now. Wait, your dad died last year? I'm sorry to hear that, Sebastian says with full sympathy. It's fine. Like I told Harrison, his death wasn't sudden. He was already quite sick before then. Sebastian nods in understanding. So, it's at this bookstore that you two got reacquainted? Harrison and I nod at the same time. What a coincidence, huh? Sebastian says, amazed. To be honest, I think it was more than a coincidence. I'd like to think of our meeting as an answered prayer. Harrison looks at me with a questioning glance, while Sebastian has a suggestive look. When I realize how my words sounded, I feel my heart race. What I mean to say is, you see, the store has been having financial problems. You never mentioned that, Harrison says. It didn't come up? Anyway, since you came looking for the Debussy book, I ended up checking all the books I have in stock and going through my dad's collection. That was when I found the book Harrison was looking for. Was that the day you got the sudden call from her? Sebastian asks his cousin. Harrison nods. So, what happened next? Sebastian asks. Well, Harrison came by, and we discovered that most of my dad's books could be sold for a great price. Then he offered to have one of his colleagues check them. And because of that, my financial troubles can finally be solved. So, you see, answered prayer, I finish. Harrison and Sebastian both nod in understanding. Well, I'm glad I could help, Harrison says with a smile, which I return. So, those books. I assume Beacon will be in charge of auctioning them? Sebastian asks. Yes. Harrison was kind enough to assist me in getting them sorted out. With my story done, our conversation shifted to Harrison and how he acquired a weird ornament a few weeks ago. In the middle of Harrison's story, our food arrives, and we dig in. After dinner, Sebastian offers to treat us to some dessert, which I didn't turn down. As the night deepens, I find myself surprised by how much fun I'm having with Harrison and Sebastian. However, as I stare into Harrison's laughing face, my attraction for him grows deeper, despite my best efforts to ignore them. You need to get it together, Marcy.
Chapter 9. Harrison. Reading the list of potential items Beacon is planning to acquire, I evaluate each one, check whether it isn't overpriced, review its potential to sell well, and whether there will be any problems should we acquire the property. I sort through the list, and I see that the first batch of the books Marcy brought in from her father's collection have already been included. Given Dana's passion and enthusiasm toward the books, it's no wonder they've made a lot of progress. But it's not only Dana who's excited about this deal. I can see that Marcy is quite thrilled by the prospect, despite her initial hesitance. Well, she did say bookbinders needed the money. Remembering that fact, I resume working, since I hope to finish before Marcy arrives. As I'm evaluating the data we have on an old vase, Hannah enters my office without knocking. From my periphery, I notice her confusion until she sees me behind my desk. Hannah cautiously walks toward me. When she gets to the other side, her hand slowly reaches out to touch me. "What are you doing?" I ask, unable to concentrate anymore. "Oh, you're real," she replies with relief as she retracts her hand. "And why wouldn't I be?" Hannah gives me a look, as if asking whether or not I'm serious. "This is my office, in case you've forgotten. I don't think it's unusual for you to find me here." "Really? Because I noticed you haven't been here for almost a week." "You're here." Hannah gestures to the room with both hands. "But not here." Then she points to the desk. "What are you talking about?" "All I'm saying is you seem very preoccupied attending meetings with a certain Marcy Stein," Hannah replies in a suggestive tone. "How are you so sure that's where I've been?" I ask nonchalantly. "Let's just say a little birdie told me," she replies. "Dana?" I ask, humoring her. "And every single person here who has eyes." I didn't think our employees were inclined to gossip. "Oh, please. Everyone here knows you're some kind of workaholic. They're just amazed to see you around the office every day this past week." I snort at that comment. "So, what's the deal between you and Marcy?" Hannah asks, now clearly fishing. "Nothing. She's an old friend. Kathy's best friend, to be exact." I resume flipping through the files, but my thoughts turn to Marcy. Thinking about it now, I realize Marcy has been visiting the office every day for the past week because of her father's book collection. I know that, but even with friends, you normally don't get involved with auctions for lower value items. I raise my eyebrows at her. "Remember Harold's celebrity memorabilia 2 years ago? Or your dear friend Diana's china last year? What about Sebastian's wine collection just 6 months ago? Should I go on? There's still quite a lot where that came from." "Okay, I get it. I rarely get involved with these lower value items you're talking about, but unlike those cases you mentioned, I was the one who recommended Beacon services to Marcy, so I want to make sure everything goes smoothly." "But isn't that why you assigned her to our resident book expert? Or do you doubt Dana's capabilities?" Hannah presses on. "I have complete trust in Dana." "And yet you still attend every meeting with Marcy," Hannah says smugly, arms crossed. "What can I say? I have a particular interest in her collection. You know I've been very interested in book collecting. Her father happens to have a fascinating set. It's even better that they're so well preserved." Hannah only smiles at my explanation. "You say that now, but what I heard from Dana is you've been coming up with various reasons to sit in on meetings with Marcy. Your point?" Hannah sighs. "Okay, I won't press anymore. But I want you to know that whatever's going on between you and Ms. Ian, I approve. It's about time you date again. It's also about time for you to go back to work and leave my love life alone, don't you think?" "All right, I'm going, Hannah says with a laugh, arms in the air as she leaves. With Hannah gone, I resume evaluating the rest of the items on the list. However, because of Hannah's words, I find myself more distracted. While I must have given a dozen reasons as a way to justify my actions, none of them are essentially untrue. Still, I know there's one reason Hannah was waiting to hear. The fact that I'm doing this because I can't stop thinking about Marcy. For some reason, ever since Sebastian told me Marcy could have been in love with me 5 years ago, I can't get her out of my mind. And the more I spend time with her, the more I can see what a charming and interesting woman she is. With Marcy now filling my thoughts, I find myself wondering if she's in the office today. Deciding to check, I step out of my office, only for Hannah to notice me walking out. "Are you in search of your old friend for the day, Harrison?" Hannah teases. "I'm going out for some air," I deny. Despite what I told Hannah, I follow the path to the conference rooms. Through the glass walls, I can see Marcy inside with Dana and a few other people. But instead of entering and joining the meeting like I've done the past few days, I stay rooted on the spot as I watch Marcy. Confident and charming, she converses easily with everyone around her. And when she laughs at something Dana says, all I can see is her. Oh, Marcy, what have you done to me?
Chapter 10. Marcy. And Dana was so enthusiastic about the books, we finished examining all of them way ahead of schedule. I take a sip of my coffee. So now we're ready to auction off the books in a few weeks. That's excellent news, Mom says. Now, you don't have to worry about rent for a while, and you'll also be able to expand the store like you and your dad planned. Not to be such a downer, but how sure are we that the books will sell? Jane asks, out of concern. And wouldn't it take a while before you get the money? Your rent is almost due. Well, Beacon has advertised the auction, and Dana told me she already received a lot of interest in the books, I explain. As for the rent, that's already been taken care of. How? Jane asks. Oh, I guess we forgot to tell you, dear. Harrison bought some of your father's books, the ones by Debussy. Mom explains. Really now? Jane turns to give me a conspiratorial look. I only raise my eyebrows at her. At that, Jane smirks. I guess we can say you owe your financial freedom to Harrison, she comments. Yeah, it really is, thanks to his suggestion. I agree. Speaking of Harrison, how are things between you? What are you talking about? Well, you've been going to his office every day. I assume you've seen him. Well, yeah, I often see him since he's usually present at my meetings with Dana. And what? I ask, confused. Has he been treating you well? Jane prods. I'd like to think so. I'm a client after all. That's it? Jane asks, looking slightly disappointed. That's when I realize what my sister is doing. She's fishing for something juicier. Look, Jane, whatever you think is happening between Harrison and me is all just a figment of your imagination. Harrison and I only have a business relationship. It's all professional. Oh, come on, I've seen the guy. You can't honestly tell me you don't find him the least bit attractive, Jane argues before sharing a smile with Mom. At the mention of Harrison's looks, his face flashes before my eyes, and I feel my giddy which doesn't escape Jane's notice. Look at you all giddy, and you say it's just professional, Jane teases. When the truth is, you're attracted to him. Oh, stop teasing your sister, Mom admonishes Jane. Then she turns to me. But honey, we can't blame you. Harrison is very handsome. At their teasing, I let out an annoyed huff. Attracted or not, nothing's going to happen between the two of us. I grit out. Why not? Jane asks, confused. Don't you think it'd be inappropriate if I get involved with Harrison? I ask, my annoyance not subsiding. Why would it be inappropriate, honey? Mom asks. Yeah, Kathy's been dead for 5 years, Jane remarks. Unable to answer them, I only stare at the cup of coffee in my hands. Somehow, my silence is enough of an answer. Oh, honey, Mom sighs. She sits beside me to give me a side hug while Jane cups my face. Marcy, you know it's not your fault, right? Jane asks. What happened to Kathy was an accident. You shouldn't blame yourself for that. Despite Mom and Jane's reassurances, I stay mum. No matter what they say, I still can't get rid of the guilt I feel every time I remember Kathy and how she died. It's because of my actions that Kathy died. After a minute, Mom releases me and Jane takes the seat on my other side. Taking the cup of coffee off my hands, she takes my hand in hers. You know, I haven't told you this, but I've always known how you felt about Harrison, Jane says. I immediately look at Jane and see the sad smile on her face. Jane, I whisper. Jane looks even more somber now. I knew you liked him, even when Kathy was still alive. And I knew how hard you tried not to let it show, because you don't want to look like you're betraying your best friend by falling in love with her boyfriend. I continue to look at my sister as I see moisture form in her eyes. Mom also moves closer to us and rubs my back. And, to be honest, my heart always hurt every time I see you pretend to be happy, even though your heart must be breaking. It wasn't bad. I felt genuinely happy for them. I reassure her. I know, because you're kind like that. Jane rubs my hand. Then she takes a deep breath. But the thing is, Kathy isn't here anymore. And 5 years after her death, Harrison is back in your life. Don't you think somehow this is Kathy's way of saying it's time for you to move on and find happiness? I look out the window, up into the sky, and wonder if my sister is right. Because I do. I believe that, like me, Kathy would want for you to stop beating yourself over something that isn't your fault. Kathy loves you, and I know she'd want you to move on and live your life. Let's say you're right. I don't know how Harrison feels. Who knows if he even sees me like that? I reply as I look at our joined hands. Marcy, look at me. I look up and our eyes meet. Don't close yourself off just because you feel you don't deserve it. Because you do. And I'd like to believe that Kathy knows that too. For the first time since I've reacquainted with Harrison, I consider the possibility that Kathy sent him my way, that this time I could have a happier ending with him than I did 5 years ago. Would it really be okay, Kathy?
Chapter 11. Harrison. There are so many things I need to do, but my focus isn't on work. Marcy's smiling face flashes across my mind for the umpteenth time. I sigh, shaking my head to dispel the vision, but it won't go away. Glancing at my side drawer, the temptation to open her documents is calling me. A lot of urgent files on my desk need my review, and Marcy's documents can wait for later. The problem is, I can't wait to check out anything related to her. I'll just take a peek, I murmur and open the drawer, grabbing the file. I review Marcy's book collection. It amazes me. A lifetime's accumulation. There are a lot of first editions, and they'll surely fetch a high price. I scrutinize the information, one by one. I've been doing this work for years, but this is the first time I'm nervous reviewing a collection. Making sure I give her a fair assessment is taking a toll on me. Tracing my finger down every book picture, I visualize her taking care of these books. Her smile must have been dazzling as the sandpaper texture of the books rubs against her fingers, basking in the earthy, intoxicating smell of every page. She must have been a sight to behold. I smile as I give in to my imagination. Every time I see her talk about books, her enthusiasm infects everyone around her. Out of the blue, a loud, piercing voice breaks me out of my reverie. I frown, closing the document in my hand. Glaring at the door, I get the urge to lock it. Here comes trouble for sure. Harrison! Sebastian swaggers in as if he owns the place. His grin says he's up to something again. I don't like it. It's the way he looks when he hooks me up with other women. Work is way more interesting. And Marcy, too. I hope this time he's not here to pester me about going on another blind date or something. Perhaps issuing a notice to ban Sebastian from the office is a good idea. Though, given he's one of the best lawyers in town, this probably won't deter him. Hey, Sebastian, I raise my brow at him. What wind blew you here? Can I just come to check on you? Sebastian replies, leaning his body on the edge of my table. I just stare at him, unrelenting. Usually he has something up his sleeve when he shows up out of the blue in front of me. Do you even know what time it is? Sebastian checks his watch. Did you have lunch? Not yet. I ignore him, looking away. Let's go together, Sebastian urges. You know the restaurant 2 blocks from here, right? They have new dishes. You can go, I'm busy. I grab my pen and tap it on my desk. I have a lot of backlog I need to take care of. There are so many documents needing my attention. I wave the folder in front of his face, and he snatches it away from me. Give me that! Whoa, this is Marcy's. Grinning like a cat that got the cream, he flips the pages. Hand it over, Sebastian, I growl. A teasing glint fleets across his eyes. You're keeping tabs on Marcy. Frowning, I ignore him and grab the file from his hands. You shouldn't be reading this. Why can't I? Sebastian sits on the couch, giving me space. Finally. We're cousins, he adds. I roll my eyes, shaking my head. Anyway, you keeping tabs on the lady? His brows wiggle. She's a nice woman. That's why you guys broke up, I pointedly ask. You didn't love her because she's nice. It's not every day you meet a woman like Marcy. She's someone who makes you comfortable when you're with her. The type you can talk to about anything because she'll listen and won't judge you. Come on, this isn't about me. Sebastian stands up, crossing his arms while staring at me. Also, it's been years since we broke up. It wasn't even a serious relationship. You should ask her out, he adds. You have to! I'm sure there are a lot of men waiting to snatch her up. My hands stop moving for a minute as his words sink in. I don't think she'll agree, I softly reply. Marcy won't entertain such thoughts. I was dating her best friend. Sebastian slams his palm on the table and I jolt. Such strong emotion is uncharacteristic of him. What now? I snap. Damn, Sebastian, I thought my heart's going to jump right out of my chest. Ask her out on a date, Sebastian says seriously. You like her. What's the holdup? It's been 5 years since Kathy, man. His words hit my core. Damn, he has a point. But Kathy meant so much to me at one point. Is it even right to jump from her to her former best friend? I don't think she's open to me pursuing her. Shrugging my shoulders, I try to act nonchalant. Also, we lost contact for 5 years. I can't just pursue her now that we've reconnected. You make everything so complicated, Sebastian sighs. This is just plain cowardice. I glare at him. It's not cowardice at all. What if she rejects me? We have a business relationship, and we're friends. I don't want things to become awkward between us. Are you a fortune teller? Sebastian's eyes challenge me. You're the head of acquisitions, not a prophet. How will you know she'll refuse if you don't ask? Do you really think I should go and ask her? I ask, unsure. Somehow Sebastian's statement convinces me. I don't take you for a coward, Sebastian lectures. We, Summer's men, go for what we want. I smile. He's one hell of a motivational speaker. I have so many reasons not to ask her out, but I can't stop myself from acting on what I feel. Okay, I'll ask her.
Chapter 12. Marcy. Bookbinders are my haven. Surrounded by countless books, in this bookstore, I know almost each of them intimately. They're like my children as I care for them day and night. How I love being here. The earthy smell of books satisfies me unlike no other. The masterpiece on every page gratifies my curious mind. I read every day, and each time, it's as if I'm visiting an unfamiliar world, awaiting discovery. It's almost closing time, so no people are coming in. Now is the perfect time to work on my craft. For as long as I've known, I've drawn and read books. I get so absorbed by them, I forget the time. Grabbing my pencil and sketchbook under the counter, I sit comfortably in one of the armchairs we've placed for people to browse through pages. Flipping to a blank page, I mull over what to draw this time. I have countless sketches in the pad already. Anything that catches my attention is immortalized in my sketchbook. There are people, animals, and landscapes, I usually hold the pencil in my hand and let my hand go. If reading calms my mind, drawing soothes my soul. What to draw? I ask, biting the top of my pencil. A face comes to mind, Harrison. I make a little smile and my heart races. Remembering his smiling, handsome face, I yearn to give in to the urge to draw him so I can keep the memory forever. My hands are itching to start sketching. He won't know, I say to myself. Internally debating about the pros and cons, the desire to sketch him wins. Slowly and carefully, I draw his face. I put my everything in every stroke. Scritch, scritch. The small sound of pencil scratching against paper breaks the silence in the bookstore. It makes me happy to hear it. I haven't drawn in some time. Concerns over the practicalities of running a bookstore took priority. In my head, I'm imagining Harrison's face. When it comes to his eyes, I don't know what emotion to draw. Happiness, sadness. What suits him best? I've seen him go through ups and downs since my best friend's death, and beyond. My heart clenches. It's better if I draw him happy because this is my fantasy. I can sketch whatever I want to remember. My heart swells in happiness as I continue drawing his visage down to the smallest detail. After I'm done, I put my pencil down and look at it. I like it. Perfect, I say in ecstasy, raising the notebook. From now on, this will go to my secret stash of favorites. Marcy, a voice interrupts, and I jolt in my seat. My eyes widen when I realize it's Harrison. What are you doing here? I hurriedly cover the sketchbook, but because of my hasty actions, it falls on the ground. Pieces of paper litter the floor. My sketches are all over the place. I pick up the sketchbook, securing it first. I don't want him to see my sketch. What will he think? I'm sorry if I startled you. Harrison apologizes, bending to pick up the papers. I saw you sitting by the counter, so I approached. You must not have heard me. You were so focused on what you were doing. It's okay, I reply breathlessly, tucking my hair behind my ears. Fidgeting, I try to calm down. My focus is on the papers in his hand. I hope he doesn't flip through the pages. Harrison sees the drawings, and a smile blooms on his face. You didn't tell me you're an artist? These are amazing sketches. Blood rushes to my head, and I feel heady from his compliment. I smile, feeling shy. Thank you. I draw when I'm not busy, usually around this time. Wow! Harrison gazes at the landscape drawing in his hand. This looks so real. The sketch he's pointing out is one of my favorites. I went to the countryside just to get inspiration for it. Yeah, it's one of my best work. I approach him, staring at the paper. I've been drawing for a long time now. It's one of my hobbies. You're very creative, he says, tilting his head toward me. I think you should continue with sketching. Someday, I'm sure you'll make it big. This is more satisfying to me. Honestly, I haven't thought of making anything of it. I whisper, embarrassed. By the way, why are you here? Do you need a book? Can't I just come visit you? Harrison asks, gazing into my eyes. His question makes me stop for a moment. Oh God, I think I can't breathe. There's a lump in my throat, and my heart lurches forward. I want to visit a friend, Harrison adds. Strangely, his statement calms my heart, but disappoints me at the same time. What the hell am I thinking? It's as if I expected something else. Grimacing inside, I nod my head, throwing the idea away. You can come any time, I answer him, nervous. I hope he doesn't hear the trembling in my voice. Damn it, I need to control my emotions when he's around. You're always welcome here, and whenever you need to talk, I'm here. Turning my back on him, I walk back to the counter. You're not busy, right? Harrison peeks at me as I arrange things on the counter. I'm not. It's almost closing time, I answer, not looking at him. My emotions are all over the place. It's best to avoid his eyes. I mean, do you have a prior engagement for tonight? Harrison whispers. I look up. What did you say? I didn't catch everything. I asked if you have a prior engagement for tonight. He repeats, louder this time. No, I don't. I'm going home after closing. Biting my lips, anxiety assails me. Is this an indirect way of asking me out? How about having dinner with me? Harrison leans on his elbows, staring into my eyes. We can have fun, eat out, and catch up properly. We can do whatever you want. This is one offer that's very hard to refuse, but is it okay? Why is he asking me out? My mind's running a mile a minute. I have so many questions, and hesitation blooms in my heart. I want to ask him, but I don't have the courage. Are you sure? I ask, hesitant. Is he asking because I was Kathy's best friend? Or is he asking for me? I'm sure. Harrison replies seriously. Have dinner with me? I don't think I can refuse despite my misgivings. Yes?
Chapter 13. Harrison. Nice hideout. I like this small, quaint restaurant. Looking around, I notice that most of the guests here are of the older generation. Oldies music plays in the background. The mellow sounds add to the elegant ambiance. The restaurant is full, but it's not crowded. It's not big, but the interior design creates the illusion of space. I love the vibe here. The people seem welcoming too, I reply, looking around. A server walks toward us, smiling. Good evening, Marcy. Table for two, she asks Marcy, her eyes sparkling, and a teasing smile gracing her lips. Oh, I know what's going on in the woman's mind. If only it were true. Yes, a table for two. Sure, no problem, she replies and whispers. This is the first time she's come here with a man. Hannah, Marcy reacts, avoiding my gaze when I look at her. Smiling, I feel good. This night is looking good. Hannah winks at me and walks ahead. Stifling my laughter, I cover my mouth with my hand, but Marcy still notices it. She pouts and glares at me. I smile, calming down. I feel privileged that I'm the first man you brought. Marcy's eyes widen, and she turns her back on me. She briskly walks to our table, closely following Hannah. It seems she doesn't want to talk about her personal life, so I'll let it pass. I won't be nosy. Someday she'll talk to me about it. We sit down and Hannah hands us the menu. Can you tell me what you recommend? I ask Marcy. Are you a regular customer? Yes, I am. The ravioli is nice, she replies. But what do you prefer? I would prefer a meat dish. Pointing at the image of the rib-eye steak with garlic sauce, I ask Marcy, is this good? It's great. She tilts her head toward the menu in my hands, and I can smell the scent of her shampoo. It's refreshing. She's different from most of the women I know who think potent scents leave a more lasting impression. Tip. It doesn't. What's up? Marcy asks, looking at my face. My body's hot, and the restaurant's atmosphere has become scorching. Damn, she's goddamn beautiful. Her simplicity is her appeal. Squirming in my seat, I take the glass of cold water beside me and drink it in one gulp before I answer. Nothing, I'm fine. Hannah, I'll take the rib-eye steak with the garlic sauce, I ordered, diverting my attention away from Marcy. The usual for me, Hannah. Coming right up, Hannah grins and leaves. We're in one of the corners of the restaurant, with potted palms covering us from the eyes of other guests, affording us enough privacy. I'm nervous about the coming auction, Marcy opens up. It's my first time. Don't worry, I'll be around, I assure her. Everyone's doing their best to promote the auction. First editions are hot in the market. I'm sure those collectors will line up to bid for it. I hope so, Marcy sighs. I'll make sure everything will work out well. Don't worry, you'll get wrinkles if you do, I joke, and we laugh. We talk more about the auction as Hannah serves us our food. This is great. Savoring the taste of the steak, I chew it slowly. Yes, she smiles, bringing the ravioli to her mouth. I'm glad you like it. I swallow visibly. Damn, her lips are ravishing. It's tempting me to have a taste. Changing the topic seems a good idea to take my mind off food and her lips. So, what are your plans? Aside from the book auction, I ask Marcy, clearing my throat. I want to be a part of her life, even for just a bit. Dad and I've been playing with an idea for a long time now, Marcy whispers. She seems embarrassed. What is it? I ask, curious. She's a smart woman, so I'm sure it's something brilliant. I want to put up a small gallery for local artists beside the store. What do you think? She asks me. She seems nervous but enthusiastic at the same time. Maybe I can help one or two artists. Who knows? It might be successful. Grinning, I give her a thumbs up. That's amazing. I'm sure a lot of artists will be happy to join the gallery. I hope so, she sighs, and a reserved smile appears on her lips. The more I talk to her, the more I like her. Kathy and Marcy were best friends, but they're polar opposites. While Kathy was an extrovert, Marcy is not. I used to think I preferred outgoing and vivacious women, but this particular quiet one draws me to her like a moth to a flame. Marcy's charm is unique. It's the time that smolders. It's not the flashy kind that draws your attention right away. Instead, it gets under your skin. It builds up until you realize you can't look away. After an hour, we finish our food, and we're ready to leave. I enjoyed our dinner. Marcy cocks her head toward me. The food is nice, but the company is even better. My heart thumps loudly because of her compliment. Thank you, I whisper, looking into her eyes. I'll take you home. No need. My house is only a few blocks away, Marcy agrees. I can walk home. Let me walk with you, I insist, smiling. I want to prolong my time with her. Okay, Marcy agrees. We talk about various things as we walk to her place. After 10 minutes of leisurely walking, we arrive in front of a small townhouse. We're here. Marcy stops and looks at me. This is my place. How are you going home when you don't have your car with you? I live in Manhattan, where there's plenty of Uber rides. Don't worry, I'll call one. Showing her my phone, I press the Uber app. Let's wait inside for the car, Marcy asks me. Would you like to come in? Maybe have some tea or coffee? Sure, I say, my heart beating fast. This is the first time I've been invited inside her house. Marcy opens the entrance and steps in, but something happens that startles us both. She doesn't notice the shoe on the side and trips on it. It sends her falling to the floor, and on reflex, I catch her waist with my arms. Our faces are only a hair's breadth apart. I feel her warm breath against my skin, sending a wave of heat on it. My eyes trace every bit of her face, imprinting it to memory. Then my focus shifts to her mouth. The urge to kiss Marcy is so strong. I give in to it. Full of passion and my pent-up feelings, I kiss her lips.
Chapter 14. Marcy. I've been waiting for this moment for years. Harrison's lips against mine feels magical. For countless times, I've dreamed of this, ran this situation through my mind, and imagined the taste of his lips, but they don't compare to the real thing. Our kiss deepens, his tongue brushing against my mouth, coaxing me to open them. My legs weaken, and I cling to his neck. Returning the fervor of his actions, I open my mouth. Harrison sweeps in, brushing against my teeth and my sensitive palate. Moaning, my hold on him tightens. Desire, excitement, and apprehension battle inside me, and course through my veins. His hand brushes against my hair and suddenly tightens. Harrison sweeps it to the side and tilts my head for better access. Another moan escapes my lips as my knees crumble. Harrison cups my waist and leads me to the living room and onto the couch. Our breaths mingle as we pant, gazing into each other's eyes. The atmosphere turns hot and heavy, almost suffocating. It makes my heart beat faster and more loudly, like a drum. The sound is like thunder repeatedly crashing into my ears. I bashfully lower my gaze, avoiding his searing stare. Harrison captures my chin, raising my face. Our gazes lock, and our hands come into contact. We both freeze as we measure each other's emotions. Neither of us draws back, and we arrive at a tacit agreement. We've been avoiding our feelings for days and weeks now. There's no denying the fact that we're attracted to each other. Harrison's fingers brush against my skin, move to my shirt, and touch the base of my neck. I gasp as the tiny movement sends a spine-tingling sensation straight to my core. He tempts me to give in and to follow what I truly desire. The secret yearning I've been harboring for years buds and grows like a tree. Harrison's hungry gaze sweeps over my body, as if he can see through my clothes. Squirming in my seat, I close my legs, as the wetness between them makes me uncomfortable and wanting more. His eyes are slowly exploring and gently caressing me, and I feel their touch almost as if they're his hands. His lips come closer, crashing into mine for a dominating kiss. The passion makes me lose my sanity, sending tingles up my spine and seeping wetness down my thighs. It feels so good I can hardly breathe. Moving in a flash, Harrison pushes me down, and he's on top of me. All my concerns go out the window as I savor every bit of intimacy he's giving me. His fingers set about doing things that make me insane, pinching my chest over my clothes and running them down my sides. Goosebumps explode on my skin. "Oh, Harrison," I moan, twisting from side to side. Fortunately, the couch can accommodate both of us. "Marcy," he calls my name, and it sounds like music to my ears. Raw and intense. His lips rain kisses on my face before nipping my earlobe. I moan. My fingers dig on his skin as his tongue invades my ear. "Oh!" A drawn-out, trembling moan gushes from my mouth as my body violently jolts. I almost lift him off me. "Let me hear more, Marcy," Harrison whispers in my ear, and licks the sensitive curve. Then he kisses lower, down to the spot where my neck and shoulder meet. He sucks on it and I gasp. Harrison's hands move under my shirt, wreaking havoc to my senses. Oh God, my mind's going haywire. And my rational side is losing the fight. Panting, I let him do whatever he wants. His hands touch the back of my bra and unhook them. "Harrison." I shiver in his embrace. "Oh, Marcy." He groans in a husky voice. "I want you." My mouth gapes open and I swallow visibly. His face is a picture of carnal desire. It seems he can barely restrain himself. There's no denying I want this man. How can I not? But another person's face flashes in my head. Oh my God, what am I doing? My heart throbs as if a hand is wringing it dry. Suddenly, I don't feel well. Guilt and fear eat at my insides. I'm sorry, I don't think I can do this. I softly push him and Harrison moves away. Worry and pain fill his face. "I'm sorry, did I scare you?" "Am I moving too fast?" he asks, a telltale quiver in his voice. "It's not your fault, Harrison," I reply. What do I say? How do I explain blowing hot and cold on him? Then, as if God heard me, a car's beep echoes outside. Licking my lips, I say, "I think it's your Uber." "Yeah, I forgot to cancel it," Harrison replies, and checks it out through the windows. "Yeah, it's mine." Silence prevails for a few minutes before the car's horn sounds again. "I'm leaving." Nodding, I just let him go, saying nothing. I watch the car as it disappears into the night. Then I slide down behind the door, hugging my knees weakly. Kathy. I call out my best friend's name. The guilt is eating me alive. How can I possibly love the man Kathy gave her heart to when I was the one who killed her? I wonder how Harrison will react if he finds out the reason for Kathy's accident. He will hate me, possibly forever. I'm sorry, Kathy, I murmur, tears dripping down my eyes as I relive the awful night of the accident. That evening, a week before her wedding, I was the one who was tasked to pick up Kathy's gift to Harrison. But my car broke down, and Kathy picked it up herself. That's when she got into that horrible accident. A drunk driver hit her car on the way to the store. I was so heartbroken, and I still blame myself for it. I should have been the one to die that night, and not Kathy, who was always so happy and was loved by so many people. Because of her death, Harrison's heart was broken, and he was deprived of a lifetime with her. So have her family and friends. I wish I can turn back time so I can take her place, and she can come home. My sobs echo throughout the house as my heart breaks all over again. Harrison and I can never be together.
Chapter 15. Harrison. The taste of her lips lingers in my memory. It tastes like honey and strawberries, all rolled into one. This is a dangerous addiction, but I'm a willing addict. I would love to have a taste of her lips again and again. Smiling, I lean against my office chair as I replay that night. If Sebastian saw me now, he'd think I'm a buffoon, grinning for no reason at all. But worry is also in my heart. The night didn't end as well as I expected, and it had been days since the last time I saw her. She replies to my messages, but they're short and curt. When I call her, she ignores it and sends me a message that she's busy. I don't know what's wrong. Did I offend her because I moved in on her too fast? Does she not like me the way I like her? Her expression when she stopped me was confusing. Was it fear or guilt I saw on her face? I wasn't too sure, and I didn't dwell on it. My mind was full of her and our kiss. Maybe the night ended on an unsatisfactory note because of me. Damn, what do I do? Should I visit her? But I don't have a valid reason to go. Sighing, I close my eyes. My goodness, figuring this out is giving me a headache. Frowning, I stand up and pace inside my office. I ignore the pile of work on my table because I can't sit still. Her face keeps flashing in my mind. I was so drunk in our kiss, I neglected this point. Her expression looked anguished, that's the word. But why? No matter how hard I rack my brain, I don't get any answers. I don't think it's good to confront her, but I also believe I need to know. I sigh for the umpteenth time and plop myself on the couch. Looking around, I realize that my office is a mess. Papers litter my desk, and the coffee table in front of me. These past few days, I can't concentrate because of her. My secretary is probably frustrated that I'm not getting things done. A knock on my door grabs my attention. Speak of the devil. Come in, Dana. Fixing my tie, I make myself look presentable. Dana's eyes observe my room, and she raises her brow in question. Sir, you're a mess, she says frankly. Grimacing, I cough. I can't get this done fast, I reply, shrugging my shoulders. But I'll finish them soon. I think your mind is somewhere else, she says softly, as she gives me an understanding smile. Dana helps keep me in line. I pretend to laugh, acting nonchalant. I'm just busy. Anyway, what do you have for me? The preparation for Marcy's auction is ready, Dana informs me, handing me a file. That's fast, I exclaim. Great! Marcy's going to like the good news. She's been nervous and anxious about how the whole thing will go. Does she know already? I ask, flipping the pages. Photos of the books for the auction appear on every page with complete details. I want to bid for some of these books too. Not yet. We informed you first, Dana answers. Good. The elation is making my heart swell. When is it? I rub my hands together, excited for Marcy. Because of the news, I temporarily forgot about my worries. Next week, Dana replies, cocking her head and staring at me intently. A teasing smile appears on her lips. You should grab the chance to tell her. Of course. Grinning, I stand up. I'm going out, and I promise to finish work later. Yes, boss, Dana agrees, smiling and shaking her head. We walk out together. Dana goes back to her table while I move with a renewed spring in my steps and humming to a beautiful song. My employees are looking at me with curiosity. I smile and wave at them. They look surprised, but I ignore them and continue swaggering to my car. I drive leisurely through downtown, singing along to my radio, when a woman beside the road grabs my attention. She's holding a bouquet in her hands. Slowing down, I park my car outside a flower shop. I get down and look around. This part of the street is colorful and lively with all the shops selling a roaring trade. A pink climbing plant adorns a store, draping a rosy cloak over the windows and walls. It's very attractive and refreshing to the eye. I walk in the direction of that store, ready to buy the best flower for my lady, Marcy. Good morning, sir, a teenage boy greets as he leads me inside. What kind of flowers do you need and for what occasion, sir? I want to give it to a woman, I whisper. Honestly, I don't know what kind she likes. Peonies and tulips are an excellent combination, sir, the boy replies. It symbolizes prosperity and romance. That's great. This kid knows his stuff. Gather a wonderful bouquet for me. Sure, he replies and gets on with the work. After a few minutes, he hands me a wonderful flower arrangement of pink tulips and pink and white peonies. Thanks, I cradle the flowers. Then I pay for the service and give him a tip for a job well done. I drive to her bookstore, all the while thinking about how I should express my concerns. I have the perfect excuse because of the auction, but I want to talk about what happened between us that night. Tapping my steering wheel as I wait for the light to turn green, I keep thinking. What to do, I murmur. How do I get to the root of the problem? I speed up as soon as I'm on the highway, and after half an hour, I arrive. I don't immediately come out, staying inside my car. There are a few people coming in and out of the shop. I take a deep breath and grab the rearview mirror, checking if I look okay. I can do this, I give myself a pep talk as I step out with flowers in hand. Then I stride to the store, hoping that everything will work out just fine.
I hope you're enjoying this audiobook by Vic Savon. If you want to keep hearing more audiobooks, then please hit that subscribe button and like the video. It may seem insignificant, but the more people that subscribe, the easier it is to produce more audiobooks in the future. So please help us out and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening, and now back to your book.
Chapter 16. Marcy. This one's good. Jane shows me the book in her hands, excited. I can't wait to read this Regency novel. My God, look at the cover. This is one hot man. We giggle as we scrutinize the cover, but in my heart, Harrison looks hotter. I lose my enthusiasm when I recall his face, and I sigh. What is it? You look down, Jane asks me. You can tell me about it. It's nothing, just tired. I shrug my shoulders, contriving a calm I don't feel, but I'm dying inside. I've lost my appetite, and I don't want to step out of my house, but I needed to come here. I see. Jane frowns. You can talk to me anytime if you need a listening ear. Thank you. I appreciate her concern. So, are you going to buy this one? Yes, I'm going to have a date with him tonight. Jane giggles, kissing the cover. I laugh. Will your husband agree to a third party? Jane doesn't answer as her attention is on the window. Wow. What wow? My back is turned, so I spin around to see what evokes such a comment. I gasp. Harrison is carrying a bouquet in his hands and is coming closer. My heart races and I nervously wipe the sweat from my palms. What is he doing here? I'm sure he's here for you. Jane teases. You didn't tell me. Where did you hide this fine man? You're a lucky woman to have him bring you flowers. Stop it, sis, I warn, licking my lips. I'm happy he's here, but it's bittersweet. God, I'm so nervous. Cold sweat drips down my back. The fear and guilt I've tried to bury days ago appear again. Jane doesn't notice as she's busy ogling Harrison. He's hot. She winks at me and giggles, but my husband is hotter. I roll my eyes, covering my anxiety. Take the book. You can't get rid of me that easily. She gazes at me, raising her chin. Well, it's too late now as Harrison's here. He steps inside the store, all smiles with flowers in his hands. Hi, Marcy. He greets me before turning to my sister. Hello? Good morning, Harrison, I reply. This is Jane. She's my big sister. Hi, Harrison. Jane grins and offers her hand for a handshake. It's nice to meet you. Jane, nice to finally meet you. Harrison receives her hand. I've heard a lot about you from Marcy. Really? What did she say about me? All good, I'm sure. Jane smiles, cocking her head flirtatiously. Of course, Harrison replies. She tells me you love books and your son is a sweet boy. That's great. Jane clings to my arm. I'll bring you cookies later as a reward. I'm not a kid, I grumble, feeling shy. If she stays any longer, I don't know what more she'll say about me. Jane, isn't it time to head back? I remind her. Michael's waiting for you. Jane stares blankly into my face. You can just tell me you want to spend some alone time with Harrison. She giggles. What is she saying? Jane's voice muffles as I think of him. Bye, take care, guys. Jane waves, walking out of the bookstore. Don't mind her, I say, looking away. Marcy, these are for you. Harrison steps closer and hands me the beautiful bouquet. I stare at the delicate flowers in my hands, and my heart melts with love. Tears threaten to fall from my eyes, but I stop them. I should tell him about Kathy. We can't be together. It will be an injustice to Kathy. Do you like them? He asks, earnestly staring into my eyes. The gentleness in them makes me feel even guiltier. I'm the reason you're alone. I'm the reason Kathy's not here. I scream in my head. I nod because I know I can't speak without my voice breaking. That's great. I'm also here because I want to tell you the good news. Harrison informs me. What good news? The auction preparation is over and everything's ready. It will be held next week, Harrison answers, looking happy. How about we go out to celebrate? He adds. The enthusiasm he's showing drives a knife straight to my heart. How can I be happy like this? My hands holding the flowers tremble, and they fall to the ground. Harrison looks shocked. What is it? What's wrong, Marcy? He asks me, worried. Concern is painted on his face, and I can't help but wonder if he'll feel the same way after I confess the truth. Will he still look at me this way? Will he give me flowers and ask me out? Harrison, I call out, my already broken heart breaking into even smaller pieces. I don't think I can pick myself up after this. Tears fall from my eyes and my shoulders shake. What's wrong? Harrison grabs my arms gently, staring into my face. Then he envelops me in a hug. Tell me, Marcy, this is killing me, he begs. I'm sorry. I apologize in a timid voice. It's my fault. What's your fault? Harrison asks, caressing my hair. I sob. Kathy died because of me. His body grows still. I take a step back, keeping my distance from him. Harrison looks pale. I told no one. I confess. That night, I should have been the one to pick up the watch, but Kathy went instead. The silence is suffocating. My heart is in a vice as I recall that painful night. My car broke down and I couldn't go. If Kathy didn't drive that night, she would still be alive today. You and Kathy should be very happy. I'm so sorry. The guilt has eaten me since that day, but I was so scared to tell anyone. I add. Harrison doesn't say anything. He only stares at my face. Shock and pain appear in his eyes. God, we're over without even starting at all. I think it's best if we don't see each other anymore, I add. After this auction, let's cut off all communication. Forget I ever existed, Harrison. It's what's best for us.
Chapter 17. Harrison. I don't know what to think or say. Marcy's confession shocks me to speechlessness. Then she tells me we should never see each other again. I didn't know what to say, so I left her alone. I deemed it better for me to leave because she didn't want me there. And I couldn't comfort her because I, myself, didn't know how to react. Her pain plucks at my heartstrings, and it's killing me. Knowing she's crying is taking every ounce of self-control not to rush to her side. "Sir, here's your coffee," a waiter interrupts, placing a cup of Americano in front of me. I nod, dismissing him. The coffee smells tantalizing, but I don't feel tempted to take a sip. Nonetheless, I bring it to my lips to wake up my frozen brain cells. Normally, coffee revitalizes and gives my brain a boost, but not this time. The Americano doesn't help. It's so frustrating because I can't do anything. Grabbing my hair, I lean on the window as I wait for Sebastian to arrive. At the corner of my eye, I notice him hurriedly entering the coffee shop, and I wave to him. "Hey, what happened?" he asks, panting. "You said there's an emergency." "Did you run?" I ask. "Yeah." He takes off his coat, placing it behind his chair. 2 blocks away, the traffic was so bad, I had to. "Thank you." I appreciate his concern. To have a cousin like him is a blessing. He can be a handful, but you can rely on him when necessary, and this is one of those times. "You said you wanted to see me. What happened exactly?" Sebastian asks, direct to the point. "Something happened at work?" "No, it's not work," I sigh, shaking my head. "How I wish it was. At least, I know I can handle it." "Marcy confessed to me," I add. Sebastian's eyes widen, and he grins. "Isn't that good news?" he questions, raising his brow. "That's great, man. So you want to talk about this?" "It's not that kind of confession." I shake my head and clench the handle of my cup. "It's about Kathy's death." "What? Kathy?" Sebastian frowns. "Yes. To be exact, her involvement in Kathy's death," I whisper. Sebastian stands up, shocked out of his wits. "What the hell, man? Come on, don't keep me hanging." "Sit down." I glare at him. "You're attracting unwanted attention." Sebastian goes back to his seat and gestures that he's zipping his mouth. "Marcy blames herself for Kathy's death." Taking a sip of my coffee, I moisten my dry lips. "She told me she was supposed to pick up the watch, the one for the wedding. I remember that watch. Kathy had it in her bag when the paramedics arrived. They gave it to me when she died. It had been addressed to me. Remembering, I feel like my emotions are choking me. But Marcy's car broke down, and Kathy went to get the watch from the store," I continue. "Then that drunk driver came and smashed Kathy's car. Marcy said she should have died, and not Kathy." That's... Sebastian swallows and clears his throat. I don't think it's her fault. Silence prevails between us. I know, I reply. Damn it to hell, of course, I know. What frustrates is that I don't know how to talk to her about this. She's hell-bent on blaming herself. If she does, shouldn't I be blamed since the watch is for me? I hope she didn't mistake my shock for acceptance of her guilt. But of course I don't. I just didn't know what to say to help her take that feeling away. In my life, I've made it a point that if I'm unsure, I keep my mouth shut. Words that haven't been thought through can do a lot more damage than silence. 5 years. Sebastian's mouth is agape as he shakes his head. Marcy must be suffering a lot. No one wished for Kathy's death, and if there's anyone to blame, it's that drunk driver. Yeah, I sigh. She's been carrying this guilt for the past 5 years. She continues to blame herself. She says we're not meant for each other, and we shouldn't see each other again. Whoa, that's too much. Sebastian blinks, leans on his chair, and gazes at me. What do you think? Feel? Cards on the table? I'm falling for her, I reply, leaning on my elbows. I love Marcy, Sebastian. She's an amazing woman. I think I fall more in love with her each day I spend with her. That's deep, Sebastian sighs, smiling. I thought your heart will remain closed forever. Me too. Shaking my head, I try to verbalize my feelings. Marcy swept me off my feet. Love barged in past all my protests. Are we just gonna talk? Sebastian asks. What? I reply with a frown. If you love her, why are you still freaking here? Man, I'm no love expert, but go and get your girl, Sebastian encourages, slapping his palm on the table. Show her you love her, and that she deserves happiness with you, Sebastian adds. Smiling, I nod my head. Damn, Sebastian should be a motivational speaker instead of a lawyer. Thank you, I reply, my heart lightening as the heavy load I've been carrying since leaving Marcy disappears. You're welcome. Sebastian taps his chest, grinning. I'm your favorite cousin after all. You're my only cousin, I reply. I'm leaving. See you around, Sebastian. Sure. When we meet next time, bring Marcy, he shouts. Waving my hand in acknowledgement, I step out of the shop. Wake. When I arrive at Marcy's home, she's not around. Where did she go? I go to the bookstore and it's close. I call her number, but she doesn't answer. She ignores my messages too, and doesn't read them. Panic sets in. What if she hurt herself? Depressed people are very dangerous and tend to harm themselves. I don't want to think along these lines, but I can't help it. I already lost Kathy. Scrolling for Sebastian's number on my phone, I call him. He immediately answers. Hey, Sebastian says. What's up? Marcy with you? He's not here, man. She's not even answering my calls, I reply, worried. I'm scared that something happened. Come on, don't be like that. Sebastian denies it. She won't do that. How about I help you look for her? Okay. Thank you. I hang up and start calling our common friends. Hope she's fine.
Chapter 18. Marcy. The past and present interweave in my life, preventing me from facing my future. I've blamed myself for Kathy's death for years, and now I can't face the love of my life. I love Harrison. There's no denying it. But how can I be happy when the past is weighing me down? Confusion and pain fill my heart, drowning me in sorrow. Kathy, I cry in front of her grave. Kneeling, I place a bouquet of white roses beside her tombstone. She had loved them when she was alive. Tears drip from my eyes as I recall Kathy's laughter and smiles. She had so much life and so many dreams, but sadly, she left this world too early. She left a lot of them unfulfilled. I'm sorry, Kathy, I say. How can I fall in love with Harrison? How dare I covet my best friend's man when I'm the reason she's not here? I love him so much, Kathy, I sob, confessing everything to her. Even when you were together, I had feelings for him. I'm so shameless. I imagine Kathy's disappointment in me. She must think I'm not a good best friend. All these years, I hid the feelings in my heart. When you and Harrison were together, I was happy and sad. Happy for you, sad for me. Harrison and Kathy's faces together flash in my mind. They had been so happy. The perfect couple. Everyone thought they were good together. I was a witness to their love, from their friendship, courtship, and engagement. Perhaps I was a masochist because I silently bore all the pain. Forcefully bearing my love for him, I became their supporter. But maybe in the deepest recesses of my heart, in a part I wasn't conscious of, I wished they would break up. It's the part that bears all the guilt. Maybe I wished so hard. It brought negative energy into their lives. And Kathy died. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I apologize again, sitting in the grass. I betrayed you, Kathy. My tears fall as I relive the anguish and sorrow of her passing. This is my atonement. I shall forever keep this feeling in my heart, but I'm destined never to act on them. I don't deserve to be happy with the man I love, not with Harrison. My ears perk up when I hear footsteps coming closer, and I tense. Turning around, I see Sebastian coming over. I wipe my tears as I try to calm down. I had a feeling you'd be here, Sebastian says to me. Harrison's looking for you. I jolt when I hear his name. God, he affects me so much. I don't know what to do anymore. You should talk to him, he adds. Shaking my head, I hug my knees. Sebastian sighs and sits beside me. He stays silent, staring at Kathy's tomb. What do you want? I ask. I told you Harrison's looking for you. He cocks his head toward me, though he's also looking at the inscription on her tombstone. I don't want to talk to him, I reply, shaking my head. There's nothing to talk about. Why? Harrison asks. He's about to go crazy, Marcy. I know you love him. Shut up, I snap, glaring at him. You don't know how I feel. I can read you loud and clear, he replies. You can't run away from your feelings, Marcy. I stand up and say bitterly, what do you know, Sebastian? Guilt, pain, and love are battling inside me. I'm dying inside. Leave me alone. I raise my chin and turn to leave. I know what happened. Sebastian's words stop me from leaving. I frown. Harrison told you? I ask, my heart racing. Will he blame me too? What did Harrison say exactly? I want to know, but it scares me. Yes, he told me the entire story. Sebastian stands up, moving closer toward me. My body trembles and I clench the edges of my shirt. His words have caught my heart. Before I can say anything, Sebastian's warm arms envelop me. His next words hit my heart directly. It's not your fault, Marcy. Kathy's death wasn't your fault. My body shakes uncontrollably as I sob loudly, releasing all my pent-up emotions. Perhaps I needed someone to tell me so I can let go of everything. Bearing the guilt and fear alone is almost driving me to insanity. There are countless nights I can't sleep. You didn't force Kathy to drive that night, he adds. The drunk driver wasn't your responsibility. It wasn't your fault he crashed into Kathy's car. It's his. Oh God, Kathy, I wail. This is the first time I've let it all go. The burden I've been carrying for so long is slowly easing from my heart. My crying drains my strength, and I sit on the grass as my legs can't hold me up. Sebastian grabs my hand, soothing me. I hiccup. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to see me like this. It's fine, Sebastian says, laughing. You can cry all you want. Harrison will be envious. and I can tease him about it forever. At the mention of his name, my nervousness comes back. Sebastian notices it too. I know how much you love Kathy, Sebastian sighs. Harrison knows it too, and he'll never blame you for her death. Hope is slowly blooming in my heart, and I look up at him with tear-drenched eyes. Kathy, similarly, will never blame you for her death, he points out. You were best friends, and I'm sure she only wishes for your happiness. Wherever she is, she'll be devastated to know you're in so much pain over her. You think so? I ask, my voice quivering. Yes. Knowing Kathy, she would want you to move on. Sebastian gazes into my eyes, full of sincerity. Pregnant silence ensues between us. I don't know what to say. Fear of allowing myself to be happy holds my heart and keeps a tight grip on my throat. Please talk to Harrison, Sebastian begs. My cousin is a good man, Marcy. He also deserves to be happy with you. I clear my throat. I know, but I don't think I can face him now. It's hard, and I'm not ready. Okay, there's no need to talk to him today. Think about what you want to do. Sebastian agrees. I'll explain things to him, but don't take too long. Thank you, Sebastian. You're a great friend. I'm so grateful to him. You're welcome. Sebastian helps me stand up. Why don't I drive you home? It's late. Okay.
Chapter 19. Harrison. I haven't seen Marcy for days now. The last time was when we talked at the bookstore, but she's avoided me since then. Sebastian told me she needed space, so I'm letting her have it. But it's taking too long. I can't go on like this indefinitely. Today is my only chance. Mr. Summers. Hearing my name, I turn around. A staff member is nervously looking at me. Hi, what is it? I ask as I fiddle with my cufflink. The auction is about to start. Yes, sir, he replies. Okay, I reply. The employee leads me to my private box on the second floor. The floor below contains the general seating arrangement for guests, and here are the private boxes for the VIP guests. As organizers, we have our office here, and I have an unrestricted view of the stage. Everything is ready, and 100 seats are full. The guests are busy talking to each other, discussing the pamphlet in their hands. It contains all the items for auction, so they can choose ahead of time if there's one they want. Nervousness courses through me, making me feel like a newbie. Today is special, and I have to do my best. For Marcy, for me, for Kathy. The latter must be looking at me now. I don't know what she would have thought, but I'm sure she would have been cheering me on. Kathy would have been the first person to want Marcy and me happy. Clenching my fists, I take a deep breath as I step into my private box. My eyes are fixed on the person sitting by the edge of the stage, Marcy. She looks poised in a black, tight-fitting skirt and white top. My heart races, cold sweat drips from my forehead. Wiping it off, my eyes never leave her. The auction starts, and one by one, the auctioneer brings out the books for public view. $1,000, going once, going twice. The auctioneer stops. Any more bids? Oh yes, guest number 4, bid $1,500 for our Jane Hamilton, Glory of Heaven, first edition. Is this the last bid? Going once, going twice. A brief silence. Sold. Wow, that's amazing. Just as I thought, these collectors are going crazy for the books. First editions are so rare in the market, they're hard to find and even harder to buy. I think this is the first time so many are being sold all at once. The next book is Martha Hungary's Possession. The writer wrote this on... The crowd drowns out the voice of the auctioneer as they bid frantically. I smile, shaking my head. These collectors have a lot of money to spare. I focus on Marcy at this stage. The elation and shock on her face make me so happy. The auction goes on, and one book reaches a whopping $40,000. The amount is so shocking. This is the first time in Beacon history a first edition has ever reached this price. The buyer must be desperate to have this particular book. That's crazy, I say to myself. An old man gives the winning bid. After he wins it, he leaves. Now we only have one book left to auction, the star of the collection, Harrison Maurer's The Count of Montreal. This is the oldest book in our collection, and it's in mint condition for its age. The bidding starts at $100. The bidding war escalates fast to thousands of dollars. Marcy stares at the audience, wide-eyed. I hope this helps her and her problems. My heart softens every time I look at her. After this, it's my turn. I mustn't let this chance go or screw this up. Checking myself in the mirror at the corner, I straighten the creases on my suit. My hands tremble slightly. I'm just taking a deep breath when a knock startles me. "It's open," I say. An employee steps inside. "Sir, the auction is over." "Okay, let's proceed according to plan," I instruct. Heart thudding, I walk down from the second floor and approach the stage. Marcy sees me, and the bidder as well. I wave at them. Most of the people here know me. The auctioneer on the stage continues. "That was the last book. Thank you. I gesture for her to stop. "There's one more." Marcy frowns, then looks down. It hurts that she doesn't even glance back up at me. I sigh. "Please take the stage, sir." The auctioneer gestures for me to take center stage. "Sure," I reply. Then the spotlight hits me. A staff member brings me a book. The book in my hands is Marcy Debussy's Intricacies of Longing. Finally, Marcy turns to me. Her eyes widen as she stares at the book in my hands. The crowd's voice raises. This book must be enticing to them. After all, this is older and more valuable than the final auction item. "This book means a lot to me," I announce, staring at the book in my hands. It's about finding your strength to let go of your sadness after losing a loved one. My voice trembles as emotions surge inside me. I'm letting Kathy go and stepping toward my future. I lost my fiancé 5 years ago in a car accident, and as most of you might guess, it was extremely difficult. Letting go was hard, and I didn't have the courage to face the future, I continue. This book helped me face the reality that she was no longer around, but it wasn't enough to heal my broken heart. The hall is silent. You can probably hear a pin drop. "Marcy," I call out, looking at her. "I thought I'd never love again." She gasps, disbelief on her face. "I fell in love with you," I proclaim. "You brought me out of the shadows of my grief. You healed my broken heart and taught me how to love again." Marcy covers her mouth, but a small sob escapes. My heart clenches. "I would like to take this opportunity to show you how much I love and need you in my life," I say, slowly moving toward her. "I want you to know I've truly moved on. Will you take a chance on me? Will you let me be a part of your present and face the future we can have together?" Marcy's tears fall unbidden. Then she nods at me, smiling. "Yes, Harrison. Yes."
Chapter 20. Marcy. "This painting is amazing," a guest exclaims, amazed at the image hanging on the wall. I smile, proud of my achievements and those of the local artists. This is a dream come true. The gallery has come so far. Harrison whispers behind me and his arms encircle my waist. "Baby." Leaning my head against his chest, I feel blessed. A year ago, I earned more than $100,000 during my book auction. I used the money to start an art gallery, naming it after Kathy. My heart swells as I take in everything around me. I especially bask in Harrison's warmth. "Thank you," I express emphatically, looking up at his face. You supported me all the way. I love you. I'll always be here for you, my love. Harrison captures my chin between his thumb and forefinger. Then he drops a chaste kiss on my forehead. Forever. Harrison's lips crash against mine as soon as we enter our home. His possessiveness hadn't disappeared, even though it's been a year since we got married. Every time he takes charge, my knees go weak, and desire clouds my senses. My heart basks in his love as he worships my body. Oh God, Harrison. My back hits the wall as we frantically take off our clothes. Then the door slams shut. I'm not God, baby, but I'll bring you to heaven. Harrison traces my face with his fingers and rubs my lower lip with his thumb. You make me crazy. Our gazes lock, and the fire I see in his eyes scorches me to my core. I hate to burst your bubble when things are just getting started, but this platform won't allow us to air the steamy content coming up in this chapter. If you want us to keep bringing you free audiobooks, we have to abide by their rules. Luckily for you, the unabridged version of every Vixa Vaughn audiobook is available at vixavonromance.com, and with promo code VIXA40, you can get 40% off any digital product. Let's get back to the story. Kissing me softly on the lips, Harrison lies down, and his arms go around my body. We're both sweaty, but the feeling is so comfortable. Thank you, I say, leaning my head against his chest. You're welcome. I love you, my darling, he replies. I want to grow old with you, Marcy. Me too. Only you, Harrison. It's a promise.